Hey y'all, and welcome back to Tabspace. So, I am back with another article, and this is one I didn't really do a poll on because there ain't too much to survey. It's a pretty opinion based article. It's on Your Tango, and we're here to talk about something everybody loves to talk about, our favorite thing: arrogant people, self centered, conceited, whatever you want to call them. A lot of us, we see a self-centered person or a conceited person or whichever one of those similes that I used, and we immediately think narc. So in today's day and age, this is usually like the narc combo. So while in my personal opinion, when it comes to arrogant people, it's best to not say anything. It's best to avoid the conversation at all costs. But unfortunately, life doesn't always allow for that. There are arrogant people in all facets of life, whether it's your family, your work life, business partners, celebrities, coworkers, you name it. In every facet of life, you're gonna run into at least one or two arrogant people, and you can't always avoid them. There are times where you can de-escalate and walk the heck away from a conversation with an arrogant person. For example, if it's one of your friends or whatever the case may be. But if it's your parent and you're a child, a minor child, you don't have the choice not to interact. They I don't want to use the wrong word here. I don't want to be like they own you, because that's not it, but your parent or your legal guardian has a level of power over you that you can't avoid. We can't pretend that it's not there. It's there. And you can't always run away from every situation that doesn't make you comfortable. So, that said, I found this article and immediately I was like, hey, why don't we get into it? We talk about a whole bunch of different types of people on this channel. So, we might as well get into how do we deal with arrogant people. So people tend to take condemnation as an insult, and condemnation tends to end more conversations than it starts. And speaking with compassion and understanding is generally your best bet. Though you should be compassionate and understanding, you should be assertive in your communication with arrogant people, because if they sense in any way, shape, or form that you're weak, which compassion and understanding, when you show those emotions towards an arrogant person, they can take that as weakness. So while you need to perform under, boom, I'm going to be compassionate and I'm going to be understanding, you also need to be very assertive. And you need to stand on what you say, whatever it is. Because I'm telling you, arrogant people are going to break down any inconsistency and they're going to run with it. Don't give them the opportunity to have that shadow of a doubt. Just keep the main thing the main thing. That's what I always say when it comes to manipulators or arrogant people or any of the likes, anybody in that type of category. So psychologists say there are three basic types of arrogance. You've got individual, you've got comparative, and you've got antagonistic. Individual, I'd say I'm arrogant just about myself. Comparative is I'm better than you. My situation is better than yours, or my situation is worse and I'm better than you because I overcame my situation. And then you've got the antagonistic, where not only are you pompous, but you're also like ready for war whenever a person questions your arrogance or points it out to you or whatever the case may be. So that's the way I take those three. They didn't really get into what each type is. That's just my reading into it. And if anybody has more information on these types of arrogance, please provide it. That's honestly not something that I looked deeper into, and maybe after this I will. Anyway, so depending on the type of arrogance you're dealing with, you may need to say something that will redirect them, make them feel heard, or let them know that they have overstepped a boundary. It really just depends on the situation and the conversation and the nature of it and all of that. So, you have the first phrase, which I personally liked. Your confidence in yourself and your capabilities is noted. What this does is it immediately derails the idea that I'm better than you. My ego is so inflated and you're going to feed into it. A lot of arrogant people don't really realize that they're arrogant. And when you say certain things that kind of check their arrogance and put them in like check, it kind of, I mean, a whole lot of different things can happen. It could completely derail them and it could completely make them feel at a loss for words. They may start to close off and try to avoid the conversation. They may cut off the conversation. They may even continue to escalate with condescending behavior. It really depends. But in this moment, what I'm doing is I'm making it clear I can tell that you're all about yourself. I can tell that you think that you're better than everybody else. And I hear you, but I don't care. Let's move on. So, this phrase said in a deadpan tone is the best way to both acknowledge the arrogance while simultaneously rejecting it. So, you're acknowledging their arrogance and their opinion, but you're also rejecting it. You're immediately like, okay, I see that you think that of yourself. Why should I? Who are you to me? Because we all have a level of self-importance. We're all going to some extent, prioritize ourselves and our needs and all of these other things in order to live the life that we want to live, right? But when it comes at the expense of other people, or we feel as though we need to exude that confidence and we just need other people to validate it and to agree with it, that's where we start to step into arrogance and condescension and conceitedness. And it's not necessary. But what I understand about a lot of arrogant people or people that are really mean and just nasty, a lot of times the things that people project the most, or the things that like show up the most in people, are things that they did not get in their childhood. So usually when I look at an arrogant person, I look at them and I think, when you were a kid, nobody validated you. No one made you feel important. Nobody told you you were beautiful. Nobody made it clear you as well deserve to be here just as much as everybody else. And because of that, you built up this wall and this defense, because we all need affirmation. We need to be built up to a certain extent. And when the people in our family that are supposed to do that for us fail to do so, we start to do it for ourselves. And unfortunately, when you're forced to do it for yourself, you do it to excess, because it makes you feel comfortable and it also gives you what you're lacking. But the problem is that when you have to build yourself up from the ground up, you start to project everything you had to tell yourself onto others. So you walk into the room and you tell people, I'm that bitch. Or you get online and you let everybody know that you're beautiful. Or you get online and you tell everybody that you make more money than them and you're better than them and your opinions are more accurate and closer to the truth than the reality of it. You tell people, I'm funny, I'm great, I'm an amazing person. You tell people, I don't bring things to the table, I'm the whole table. A person that's genuinely confident doesn't have to utter any of the things that they think about themselves to anybody else. I don't need to tell you that I think that I'm pretty. I don't need to tell you that I think that I'm smart. I don't need to tell you that I think that I'm this, that, or whatever the case may be. If I really believe that about myself, if I believe it, you don't need to. So why am I trying to prove it to you? So that said, it's coming from a deep down, it's a sad place, but I'm not going to give the excuse that because these people act this way and because it's linked to a lack of something in the past, that they should not learn to be better people, that they should not learn to not be so arrogant, that they should not learn not to step all over other people in order to feel like they can get their way up. And when you check their behavior, that's the first step to taking an inward look and saying, wait, what am I doing wrong? I don't like this. I don't like how this person just made me feel by saying what they just said. Why? Is it because I'm doing something wrong? It prompts self-reflection. And when we continue to live in this world and we know that certain people have these shortcomings, or we know this person's real arrogant, and we don't call it for what it is, we're doing them a disservice as well, and ourselves. Because I'm doing me a disservice because I have to deal with your arrogant attitude. I'm doing you a disservice because you may have never been told by anybody else that you are arrogant. I dated a person and they would always tell me, nobody ever told me that I was a narcissist. Nobody ever told me that I was arrogant. Nobody ever told me that I was self-important. That's why you continue to be that. Because no one told you. And you keep doing it. It's getting unchecked. And you're going to continue to live your life doing that stuff. So, check it. And when you check it, just check it and leave it at that. And don't get your emotions involved. If you can help it. Don't get your emotions involved. Because again, I go back to my original point that any level of inconsistency that an arrogant person can get you on, especially if they're antagonistic, they're going to get you on it. And then they're going to take you for a ride. And now we're going to stop talking about the main thing. And we're going to be all the way over here on a tangent about why 3 years ago I didn't do this one thing that literally has absolutely nothing to do with the task at hand. Don't even get yourself emotionally involved with it. Just call it out and move along. Boom. I said what I said. You know, your confidence in yourself and your capabilities is noted. Moving on. No, I don't want to talk about that. Moving on. Let's get back to the task at hand. So I would have to agree with this statement. The realization that the person is being self-centered is likely to stir some irritation if they have the depth to see beyond themselves, but that does not matter too much. If they respond with more arrogance, I'd suggest keeping the main thing, and attempt not to let it get the best of you. So now we can segue into number 2. Since I just mentioned keeping the main thing. Let's focus on the task at hand. This is the one that I'm more likely to use. Let's keep the main thing. When I was going through I'm still going through my healing process, but in the beginning of my healing process, I had to realize that the manipulative person in my life always found a way to get us from the topic of, you made me feel bad. Again, now we're all the way over here. About 3 years ago, you did this and I feel bad about it too. And now we're like going in circles and we're circling the issue at hand. But we're not even we're over here. The issue's still over here and it's not being resolved because we're talking about something completely separate over here. So it always helps to say, hey, you know what? I hear you. I hear how you feel about yourself. Great. That's beautiful. Can we focus on the task at hand? Especially if it's a coworker or a boss or somebody where you're trying to get something done with them. I'm not just talking about emotional work. I'm talking about real life work. You want to keep the main thing. I don't care about what you think about yourself in this moment. I have work to do. Can we focus on that? We can inflate your ego later. You could go home and inflate your ego if that's what you got to do. Can we get back to what we were doing? Because that's what I came here to do. I ain't come here to talk about you. During moments like this, it's easy to allow emotions to run rapid and yell something like, will you please be quiet? It's very easy to get mad. Don't do it. It's more effective, however, to simply redirect the energy. We could argue all day about how you're aggravating the heck out of me because you keep talking about yourself, or I, not being arrogant, can choose to keep the task at hand. It's not my job to fix you and fix your arrogance. It's my job to do whatever it is I came here to do. Keeping the main thing is bound to at least give you the relief of getting through whatever conflict you're facing with that person, and you can decompress from their attitude later. Don't internalize. Go to the bathroom and talk about it. Go home and talk about it. Text your friends, hey bro, she's back at it again with the BS. Do what you gotta do. Don't internalize it, but don't blow up on them. Because the moment you blow up on them, you give them the power. You give them the ability to be like, see, that's why I was trying to tell you, I'm just better. I'm just more mature. I'm just, no, screw that. Don't give them that ammo. The least amount of ammo that they can have to prove that they're better than you, the better. And all that blowing up is ammo. And a lot of it. Politeness plays a significant role in negotiations. Just keep that in mind. Kindness is helpful. So our next phrase is, that is fascinating. Moving on. I'm redirecting your energy. Great. I'm acknowledging the fact that you just said something that you think is positive about you. And it's beautiful. It's great. But can we, again, get back to the task at hand? I don't have time for this. I don't care. Like, I just don't care, bro. So now we move on to phrase 4. Is that relevant to the conversation? Let's say we have a work project that we need to get together. The arrogant person comes in. They're being condescending. They're being all this and that. We're on like the 4th line because we've only gotten 4 lines through the project. And they start to say, well, this reminds me of a time that I did this amazing thing and I ended up winning $5 million, and I went home and I got my mom a car and a house and a this and a that. And then I went with that money and the rest of it I invested it. So now I got all these stocks and I have all this money and I'm richer than you and I'm better than you. And I really don't even need to be here for real, because like, what do I need to be here for? I'm just here to humor y'all. I'm here to help you. This isn't for me. All right, bro. Is this relevant to the conversation? Like, we're trying to get inventory moved from this location to this location. What does you and all of this other stuff about you have anything to do with getting the inventory from this location to that location? Nothing. So can we please get back to the task at hand? You gotta cut them off way before they get to all that. I just gave y'all examples of things that arrogant people would say because I've heard all of it. I've heard a lot of it. Not all of it. I've heard a lot of it. Sometimes arrogant people say really out-of-pocket comments. They might talk about their skills or boast about how great their life is. It's unfortunate, but arrogant people don't realize that their constant stream of unnecessary comments impact others more than they realize. We have time constraints when we're at work. The longer I spend talking about all the millions of dollars that you have and how little you need to be here is the less time that I'm getting to finish my job. Not only to finish my job, but to, like, you know what I mean, go home on time. So you're wasting my time. You're wasting a company resource. You're wasting my, like, and you probably don't really realize that you going off on this tangent about your life that I don't care about is slowing me down. So let me let you know real quick. Let's cut this off. I don't care. We can talk about this later. A lot of times, these people seek validation for their accomplishments or the blessings that have worked in their favor. This redirection of the conversation allows them the opportunity to reconsider this line of conversation if it's useful to the common good. It might make them feel some type of way. It might, there might be... Well, no, it doesn't. Like, they might have an attitude. One thing about it, 2 things for sure. When you're dealing with an arrogant person, you really have to pull your emotions out of you and just put them on, like, the back burner for a minute. Because if you let them get the best of you and you keep letting that stuff irritate you. It's going to pile up, and their arrogance is going to become your problem. And I'm trying to tell you right now, that is the absolute last thing that you need to deal with, especially if you're trying to get through an already conflicted issue. That was like a double, I don't know what to call that. But yeah, whatever. Your conflict, it ain't gonna get resolved that way. So one study published in Social Cognition found that reversing a bad first impression is harder than forming a good one. Researchers found that participants were more likely to assume that Barbara, an imaginary person, was less likely to change due to a bad first impression. These are kind of like fun facts, and I feel like it kind of ties back in because when your arrogance is on the forefront, if it's like the first thing that I notice about you, I'm not going to forget it. I'm going to like always think like that's an arrogant person. They're self-centered. They're very prideful. It's easier for me to check your arrogance in the beginning. And it's also easier for you to not lead with arrogance than it is for me to check that behavior later. Also, it's easier for you not to lead with arrogance than it is for you to fix the fact that I now think that you're an arrogant person. Like if I come in humble, you think I'm humble. If I come in arrogant, you think I'm arrogant. First impressions are not easy to reverse. A lot of people say first impressions are everything. First impressions might not be everything to me, but they're a lot. Okay? I'm one of them people that's on the understanding that sometimes you just catch people on a bad day. Like sometimes the fact that you were going to meet that person that day isn't enough to stop life from lifing. So I get it. But a lot of people don't. And when it comes to like making big decisions and doing certain things like business wise, just in general, when it comes to doing certain things, your first impression is everything. So if you do have like arrogant tendencies, I would suggest catching that and working on it sooner rather than later. And if you are kind of an empathetic person and you have found yourself in situations where people around you are much more arrogant than you are, work on sharpening these skills ASAP to avoid further frustration from the arrogance. Because you're going to meet arrogant people in life. And you're going to meet arrogant people in life that you have to talk to. It's a fact of life. There are more arrogant people out there nowadays than I've ever seen in my lifetime. And it's getting worse with social media, with OF, with all these different things that make people feel like I have all this money, so I'm so important. People get rich for saying things. Like I could make some stupid phrase up, say it the right way, and it could go viral and I could get rich tomorrow. And if I'm not a humble person already, and then I get a bunch of money and influence, it's over with. So check it ASAP. Humble yourself. No matter what point in life you're at, humble yourself before life does it for you. Because life is going to do it if you don't do it yourself. People should not feel too bad about using this phrase or any of the phrases used in this article. Though it may be a bit rude, it may feel rude to say any of this stuff, but you're doing arrogant people a favor by letting them know like, hey bro, you can't fake the funk with me. And not only with me, there's many people out here you can't fake the funk with. So you could either fix it today, you could fix it tomorrow, or you could fix it never. But I'm letting you know now, it's not cool what you're doing. I don't like it. It's not pretty. It's ugly. God don't like ugly. And I just don't want to see you harshly dealt with in life. All right, so now we move on to phrase 5. Well, I value your perspective. Well, I value your perspective. It's very matter of fact. It's yeah, I've thought about it. I value your perspective on this, but you don't know better than me. And if you do, I'll figure that out myself. You're checking them, you're valuing them, you're validating them, but you're also making it clear like, hey, bro, that's you. That's your perception of things. Mine is different, and that's okay. We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. But moving on. At first glance, most people might not see anything wrong with this phrase, but the inclusion of well is the difference between being meek and being direct. By uttering well, you are pausing. According to businessman and multi-award winning public speaker John Zimmer, pausing helps people reflect on what was said and how it's relevant. Combine this with a sarcastic tone, and the arrogant person will better understand what you're actually saying and feel embarrassed for being disrespectful. So, like, this is best used when somebody's trying to tell you how to do something better than what you would do. Well, you know what? I wouldn't put up with that. Well, you know what? I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it this way. Well, you know what? Da 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 da. I know better because I would da 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 da. Okay, glad to hear. But this is my life. This is my train. I'm going to drive it. If you want to be a part of it, you could get in the back seat. You could get in the passenger seat. But you're not driving this boat for me. But it allows the person to feel valued, but also gives them that like little backhanded like, you're valued, but you're overstepping. You're overstepping here. I didn't ask for advice. I was just telling you what I'm doing and what I got going on. Now we move on to phrase 6, and this one's my favorite. It's okay not to know everything. When you deal with a know-it-all, we all know at least one know-it-all. That person in class, oh, I know, ooh, me, pick me. Or that person that just like comes out of pocket. You over here having a conversation with somebody completely different. They come up out of pocket. Well, I heard that what you guys were talking about, and I just want to tell y'all that I already know that. And it's like, we didn't ask you. This was an A and B conversation, and you need to see your way out. We don't care. Like, it's just a stark reminder of like, bruh, you don't know everything. You're not an encyclopedia. You're not the internet. You're not God. You don't need to feel as though you have reign in this area right here. You don't have to act like a know-it-all. Just vibe with us. Chill out. Like, calm down. This phrase is a reminder to the know-it-all side of the arrogant person that they're doing the thing again. And hopefully it allows them time to reflect and correct the behavior. On the surface, it might sound like an encouraging or considerate thing to say. However, it's essentially telling an arrogant person, you don't know everything, so please stop. There are times where people have characteristics they don't quite realize are detrimental to... They don't quite realize how detrimental they are to their personal relationships, and you may be saving this person from continuing to act this way with others. I know it's a task you may be hesitant to take on, but it's worth it over internalizing how this person's making you feel and then blowing up later on somebody else or blowing up later at all. It can be relieving to like let it out like, bruh, you doing a lot. You're doing a little too much. I'm going to be polite, but I'm also going to be assertive. You're doing too much. So we got 2 more phrases, so bear with me. We're almost done. I've been trying to work on my video time because I know our attention spans nowadays are not what they used to be. My attention span nowadays is not what it used to be. So I ain't coming to nobody. I'm just saying our attention spans just... When you can scroll and everything's like a 30-second video, boom, 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 you really lose your attention span. Like, I hate to say it. Phrase 7 is, that's one way to look at it. This one's a little more appealing to the people pleasers. I want to say right now, if you're a people pleaser, please stop. Please me by stopping being a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser, it's not pleasing to God. It's not pleasing to you. You're putting others above yourself to a fault. And it might work for a while, but eventually you lose pieces of yourself trying to make other people happy. Because you can't. That's not your job in life, is to make others happy. It's great to put others before yourself, but it's not your job to make people happy. It's not your job to make people feel comfortable in whatever bullish that they're doing. That's not for you to do. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say, hey, bro, chill out. You're allowed to speak how you feel. Just make sure when you do it, you're not doing it and counteracting the issue by being arrogant yourself or condescending yourself. Because that's like all the way against the point. And now you get to a situation where you're the pot calling the kettle black. And don't nobody got time for that. So this phrase checks whoever the arrogant behavior, this phrase checks whatever the arrogant behavior you're seeing in the moment is. It allows the person to consider that there are other perspectives beyond just theirs. And due to you working together on this thing, it would be beneficial to both of you if you can both express your perspectives freely without being condescending. Let's value each other's opinions. A lot of arrogant people, they come in, they're like, boom, I did the project. Just put your name on it. No, don't question it. No, I'm in control. You can't get anything done to help both of you. You can't come together as two minds if they're taking the lead and they want to take control, complete control over it. Relinquishing control and delegating is extremely important. So you shouldn't be in full control. They shouldn't be in full control. Y'all should both be coming together and sharing ideas. And if it's a huge problem, like it's like, bruh, they're doing things wrong. They're not following the process. They're messing me up. It's frustrating. Talk to your boss. I'm not saying snitch. I'm saying talk to your boss and say, look, I'm frustrated. We're deviating completely from the process. I'm a perfectionist and this is not working for me. And y'all, hopefully a mediator can come in and help. And I'm really using like the work example because it's the easiest one for me to navigate, because it's like these are people you have to interact with. At least if you want to make money and not live on the street in a cardboard box, you have to interact with these people. I'm not saying that you have to interact with them for life, because you have the option to get a new job. But while you're at work, it's best to try to get your job done and go home, so that way you can wake up in the morning and make more money and go home again and have a home to go to. So that's where the work example is coming from. There's probably millions of examples that I could get into, but I'm just kind of running with that one. All right. We are on our last phrase. I'm not going to hold y'all much longer. So, last phrase is, let's hear what other people have to say. I like to use the meeting example. We're all in a meeting. You got the know-it-all. They keep raising their hand. Boom. They're monopolizing all the meeting time. There's a lot of people as well that will ask millions of questions during a meeting to monopolize meeting time. And those are also arrogant people. Their questions are usually questions that could be answered outside of a meeting setting, are unnecessary all around, or are just inflating their ego. Just period. So you got the question asking arrogant person in the room that is monopolizing meeting time. And then you got the arrogant person that thinks that they know everything. They got all the solutions, all this and all that. They're not letting anybody else speak. It's just like nobody else is in the room but them. pretty much is what it might as well be. When you're in these situations, you want to stop them eventually and say, look, I've heard your opinion. We've all heard your opinion. But now it's time for us to open up the conversation to everybody else. If you'd like to have a one-on-one convo separately, that's for the manager to decide to do. But otherwise, it's time to let somebody else speak. This puts somebody in their place. It humbles them in that moment, because since you're monopolizing everybody's time and you're being disrespectful of the fact that others come here, have a job, and have opinions, I have to stop you somewhere, or we're not going to get anything done. Not anything like productive. So, I love that one. Two brains are better than one. And even more than that, or even better, arrogant people feel entitled to whatever room they're in. By not allowing other people to speak, arrogant people steal the spotlight. And other people have to stop that from happening. When it comes to arrogant people, something's got to stop it. Because there's another thing that really ain't really talked about enough. If you let an arrogant person talk, like if you just unchecked let an arrogant person talk, and I've tested this myself. I promise y'all, I've tested it. Where I just like put the phone on mute and then just sit there and listen. And I don't have the phone call any longer, so I can't prove it to y'all. But I muted the phone. I sat back and I watched the clock. From the time we got on the phone, 30 minutes went by and that person did not stop to ask me how I felt about it. They did not stop to take a breath. They didn't even stop to burp or to breathe. Like, they just kept going. And had I not, at 30 minutes, I waited until exactly 30 minutes went by, because I just wanted to see, like, is this person really going to do this? Or are they going to allow me to respond? And if I wouldn't have stopped them at minute 30, we probably would have been on hour 3 very shortly of them still talking. We might still be on the phone right now of them. If an arrogant person gets the opportunity to fill a void with conversation, especially if it's conversation to inflate their ego or make them feel better about themselves, they'll do it until they're blue in the face. They'll do it till they sleep at night. And the only moment that they will stop is to make sure that you're engaged and to make sure that you're validating what they have to say. You gotta check it. You gotta check it. If you don't check it, ain't nobody else going to. All right? I kind of went off there for a second, but it felt good. A lack of diverse opinions doesn't lead to the best outcome. Researcher and associate professor, Boston University, Evan A., explains that diverse groups can make vigorous decisions, which leads to fewer mistakes. This is why it's important to call out arrogant people when they talk over others. Not only is their behavior disrespectful, but it also prevents collaboration, which leads to worse results. Sometimes people shut down. I know I've had a tendency to shut down and block out the arrogance. Like, just completely shut down. Like, I'm not even listening. I'm just looking at you. Don't know what you said for the last 30 minutes anyway, but I'm just looking at you. Because I've checked out. When you allow the arrogant person to take up all the space, people feel like the arrogant person gets their way, because people do feel less important because no one's checking it. No one's stopping it. So it's like, well, y'all must think that this person deserves to take up this whole space and all this time, so I'm gonna just shut up and sit back. They're probably really not listening anymore because they know that this is all about that arrogant person, and they just shut down. And that immediate, like, that shutdown and that whole environment there, it leads to further lack of collaboration, because if Billy Bob Joe's gonna be there and all he's gonna do is talk the whole time, trust and believe I don't have anything to say. Then people start to not care as much, morale goes down, and next thing you know, you have a huge problem on your hands. Don't do it. Don't give them the opportunity to do that. If you're not confrontational or whatever the case may be, I mean, there's at least one of those phrases, and one of them I did call out, that's not confrontational. It's just straight up giving them the value that they want and continuing to get what we need done. So, y'all let me know what y'all thought of those. Y'all tell me what your favorite phrase was out of this list. If you want to, tell me a story about how you've dealt successfully with a condescending or arrogant person. What else do I got for y'all? I don't think I got anything else for y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for coming back every time. Thank y'all for subscribing. We need one more subscriber to hit our, November goal. It's the 14th. We 14 days in and we only need one more subscriber. So y'all, if you are watching this and you're subscribed and you're liking and you're tuning in and you're commenting, get somebody that you know that cares to watch. This channel ain't for everybody, and I get it. But for the people that get it, let's keep it going. All right, y'all. Bye.